everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm giving you young adult book recommendations because if you're like me, like young adult is kind of fun to read. I know people kind of like make fun of it, but it's okay. Young adult is a category of like 12 all the way to age 18 with young adult romance, which is right here, and then we have young adult fantasy, and then we have young adult like mystery, thrillerish. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy this video, but let's get into it. I don't think I can say anything without mentioning Lynn Painter for this genre, which is young adult romance. I think she also does adult romances, but I've never read one of those. But I love every single book on here, and you should definitely check them out. They're all very cutesy and like rom-com-y, and I don't know, if you've been movies and nothing like the movies. This is the first book, and then this is like the second one, like happens after. So if you love the character so much and you want to read this one, go for it. I kind of like this one a little bit more than this one, but I just love them anyway. So basically, Liz is kind of like a hopeless romantic, and you know, she has this annoying next door neighbor named Wes, but her childhood like crush has actually came back to her high school, which is, I think his name is Michael or something. Wes is actually friends with this Michael. So Liz is like, hey, can you like help me out? And like they end up helping, well, he ends up like helping her, you know, gets her a new outfit, like they're hanging out together, and then they end up actually like falling in love. So it's actually a very cute little story. And then this is them like in college. So yeah, pretty fun. And then we have Betting on You. This is Charlie and Bailey's story. Basically, by the title, there's like a bet going on, so it's kind of like typical, but it's still really good, and I really enjoyed this one. It's really funny, in my opinion. And then Bailey is pretty, you know, scenes. And Bailey both have divorced parents, so they basically are like helping each other sort that out. Well, not Charlie more so helps Bailey because Bailey cannot stand her new soon-to-be like stepfather or anything, and she just needs a little help. So luckily Charlie's there to help her, give her some advice, and then they actually make a plan to like, and they're also working together, they're co-workers, and he keeps saying this stupid thing like girls and guys can't be friends, and Bailey's like, well then what are we? And then they end up fake dating, I think, and something like, it's just very cute, very good, and I definitely recommend it. Her other book, which is called The Do-Over, this one she's repeating Valentine's Day over and over and over again. On the cover you can tell that she crashes her car every single day, so that's really funny. And yeah, I just think that one is pretty funny, and it's, you know, all lighthearted stuff. A pretty popular one that you've probably seen on TikTok and Instagram is Summer Broken Rules. She also has some more books. Like, I've only had this one, but I know she has like 2 other ones. This one, I don't know, for whatever reason, I do not remember what happened in it. I know it was like some senior prank, email, and then the email guy ended up being her ex-boyfriend, and then they ended up rekindling that relationship. It's basically all I can tell you about what happens after midnight. But I did think I enjoyed it. I just don't remember what happened, which is kind of weird. But yeah, you guys should definitely check this one out, as well as Meredith Fox. She goes to, you know, this wedding thing, but she had recently just lost her sister, so you know, there's a little bit of grief going on, but you know, it's all pretty lighthearted other than that. And they're playing this game of assassin at this wedding, and then, you know, in this guy, wedding setting, game of assassin, very summery. The popular one is To All the Boys I Loved Before. Laura Jean basically has written these letters to her crushes, and they ended up being sent. And that's basically also by Jenny Han is a Samaritan Pretty series. I'm gonna put a picture. That one's also pretty popular, and I read the first 2 books. I haven't read the 3rd one, but there's also a Prime Video series, so if you don't like reading, then probably like that too. I have Love and Gelato. I actually like this book. It's like very like 12-year-old-y, but I don't really care. I've reread this like a bunch of times because I don't know, it's just like, it's in Italy, and basically our girl Lena, you know, her mom had just passed away, so she's being sent to Italy to a trusted friend, and basically that trusted friend ends up being something, but I don't want to say too much about this. But this is a really cutesy book, and it's just really fun, and you know, summer. The one I really don't see is Tell Me 3 Things. It's kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but basically she ends up like, there's this anonymous person, and like they end up talking like on email or text message, I'm not really sure, but anyways, and they start with like Tell Me 3 Things. That's what the title's like that, and she ends up like figuring out who it is in person, and they end up like falling off. Big Sun Kiss. First, can we appreciate this cover? Like, this is so pretty. The main character Avery, which is also her name, is kind of crazy. It was kind of funny reading it like that, but it's okay. You know, she loves music, and I think she's singing in this book or something, but basically she's sent to the summer camp and there's like no internet, so there's like no activities or whatever to do. The thing about her best friend is like had betrayed her or something like that. And then she meets this guy, Brooks, and then they obviously end up, you know, liking each other. And tomorrow, I think there's also a second book to this one. You know, there's like, it's like, I think it's their last day of senior year, and they've kind of been academic rivals like their whole time, so they just don't really like each other. This senior class game, I think it says Seattle, and they end up being like, I think, in the same team, or they're paired up, and then, you know, they actually find out that maybe they're gonna end up liking each other when they didn't think they would. So very 12-year-old-y. It's 11 Paper Hearts, so I know this is Valentine's Day themed book as well. Basically, she got in like a car crash, so she doesn't really remember anything. She doesn't remember anything that happened in the accident or anything before the accident, and she also broke up with her boyfriend during that time. But she's now receiving these paper hearts, and she also receives 11 in total, helping her remember like what she forgot. We have Kisses and Croissants. This one's very cutesy as well. Mia, you know, she wants to be a professional ballerina, so she goes to the school during summer. A little trouble, and also there's rivals and stuff, and there's like a lot going on. And she also meets some guy named Louis, and you know, she gotta focus on being a ballerina, so there's a little conflict there. And the French one is Anna and the French Kiss. Don't be scared by this title, it's not that type of French kiss, but basically she is sent off to like this boarding school thingy in Paris by her dad, and she's kind of upset about everything because she, you know, she had a life before, now she's going to Paris. Like, that's kind of stupid. She ends up meeting like some cool people. She makes a new guy who she thinks is really cool, but he ends up having a girlfriend, so she's like, oh, never mind. I think, like, I kind of liked it, I kind of didn't, so very float. I think this was a Wattpad book before. I've never read anything in Wattpad, so I can't tell you what is her name. She is from Alaska, and she ends up moving to Florida all of a sudden, and she doesn't know anything, and I think she's like ends up like almost drowning or something, and this one guy like ends up helping her, Blake, and he lives like next door to her, and he ends up like, they grow closer together, and they end up, you know, being boyfriend and girlfriend. But all of the young adult romances that I have to recommend you guys, I hope you really enjoyed that. But now we're gonna move on to young adult fantasy. But as you can see, I have very little of that, so this should be pretty good. Actually, I'm currently still reading this one. It's called The Prison Healer, and we have our main character. I don't know if I'm saying it. I think it's Kiva. I don't know if that's correct, but she's like 17 years old, and she's in, you know, this little prison, and she's actually a healer. There's other people like in here, and they get like transported, and she has to like help them out. And right now, there's someone that's called like the Rebel Queen. She's like really sick and stuff, so then Kiva ends up volunteering in her place to, you know, take her punishment. But the punishment is like these trials, and it's like with all the elements like water, air, earth. No one ever survives all of them, but is Kiva gonna survive? I don't know. It's pretty interesting, and then there's like fun little characters in here. And I mean, I'm not really done yet, and I think there's 2 other books in this series, and I don't know if there's any more, but that's called Red Queen. Basically, Mare, in her world, everything's divided by blood, and she kind of has like a special little blood. So, and then she ends up having like a power, and like the Silver King is like kind of forced to hide her power so that no one is like questioning what's going on or who is she and stuff like that. Lark. I also really love this cover. 100 years, there's like an island which is called Light Lark, and it appears in different rulers, and each ruler has a different curses, and they're there to break their curses, and whoever breaks it wins Light Lark, I think. One ruler must die in order to save their own realm. Do this video without mentioning my babies. The Caraval series. Also, I love these. This is my favorite cover ever. Caraval is like this. So there's this thing called Caraval, and it's kind of a weird little performance thing. And Scarlett has always been dreaming to go because her grandma has told her about this a lot. So she sent letters like for 7 years, and like eventually Scarlett doesn't want to go because she has the opportunity to get married and kind of save her family because her dad is kind of crazy. But her little sister Tella is like, no, we have to go. So she ends up dragging Scarlett to Caraval. Tella ends up being kidnapped by Caraval's master, which is named Legend, and Scarlett has to save her, get her sister back, and go back home and get married. Basically, you follow what happens after, and then finale you find, you know, last book. After that, you read this Once Upon a Broken Heart series, which follows one of the characters that appears in these two books. His name is Jax. He's like a fate, and he my favorite character. This is his love story. Whoa, what? Time for our mystery thrillers, so I actually found out about this author, and her name is Megan Lawley, and I love both of these books so much. This one is so good. It was kind of sad near the end, and basically like they're just so like they take you, they're so short, but they're so good. Like, there's this girl who wakes up and she doesn't know who she is, and she gets taken in by someone. Does she know this person? Does she not? She doesn't remember. And also you get a POV of this guy whose girlfriend had just went missing, and he's not sure, and everyone is blaming him for her disappearance. So that's what this one's about. One basically has this perfect image, but there's like this weird incident that happened, and now the car behind her knows about the incident and is chasing her down the highway, and she's not sure who it is, but will they end up finding her secret? I don't know. You gotta read it. And this book is called How to Survive Your Murder, and basically this is kind of like a time travel book in a way. It kind of reminds me of like Killer, but it kind of reminds me of this. But basically this is set on Halloween, and the main character, I forgot her name, but basically her sister ends up dying in front of her in a corn maze, and she ends up being set back in time to figure out how to stop it, and that's kind of all you get from there. It's kind of nice. And she also figures out who the murderer is. And then we have the Natural series. Really, these kids work for the FBI, and they're there to solve murder cases, and there's a lot going on. And there's like a subplot of romance, just a little bit, but it's not really main focus because they're solving literal murders. But this one was really fun, and I loved all the characters. They all have like different abilities. Like at the Truly Devious trilogy, I think they have 2 more books after this, but it doesn't follow the same characters, so I didn't buy them because like it's kind of like, what do people say, like dark academia and stuff. Like there's a school that's like free to like people like in the 20th century, and then like founders like wife and child had gone missing, and there's like this whole case on it, and our main character Stevie ends up going to the school to try to solve this murder that happened in the 20th century. Good Girls Guide to Murder. These books are all so good. Like, I'm just telling you to read them. I'm not explaining them. You just need to read them, okay? At Holly Jackson, we have The Reappearance of Rachel Price, and then Five Survive. Five Survive, these kids go on a road trip, and like they're in this RV. Secret apparently someone has, and there's a sniper outside, and they get stuck in their RV, and like if they leave, they die. We follow our character Belle, whose mom has gone missing for like a long time, and now they're getting a documentary on it, so the whole family accepts it. They do this documentary, and she ends up popping up out of nowhere alive, and Belle's confused why. She doesn't know what happened, but she's also coming out with another book, I think it's July, and basically that person solved their own murder, which is crazy. That is all the books that I have to recommend you guys for the young adult category. If you guys want more videos like this, please click like and subscribe, and also thank you for watching. Bye.